I'll be talking about the role of team physician in evaluating and managing concussion, and also share our experience in dealing concussion. So I'll start off this presentation with an interesting case scenario of Will Pikoski. He was considered as uh, once in a generation talent and next big thing from Australia, but then unfortunately he had to retire at a age of 25 because he suffered 11 back-to-back concussions. So I hope by the end of the speech we'll be able to manage such people better. Just a point on incidence, approximately 4 male and 3 female first-class cricketers get concussed per 1,000 player days, and in elite cricketers it is much higher. And you can see the most of the concussions are in batsmen, followed by fielders. Symptoms of concussion are broadly divided into neurocognitive, vestibulocular, and cervical. And 30%, only 30% of these are removed from the field immediately, whereas majority are delayed onset of that concussion. So this implies, if you were there on the first day for Dr. Peter Harcourt's speech, he said it's important to serially evaluate these patients, and because majority of these are delayed onset. So just most commonly it's neurocognitive. So most probably the athletes will be feeling mental fogginess and inability to recollect recent events. Is brain injury still the problem that we are treating? Female gender is at a higher risk, and there is also a considerable amount of cases which have vestibular and cervical dominant cases, not only neurocognitive symptoms. And it's very important to ask about the mental health of the athletes, because that can delay the return to play time as well. And after concussion, the athletes are at higher risk for any other musculoskeletal injury for the next 12 months. And these concussed athletes have a 3 times higher risk of neurodegenerative risk compared to non-concussed athletes. And concussion symptoms are never, it's not only neurocognitive or vestibulocular, it's always a combination of these symptoms. And as you see here, 6 of these patterns had vestibulocular symptoms in them. So it's very important to include vestibulocular screening as well. So the aim of my study was to analyze the prevalence and to develop an optimal assessment and management protocol for concussed athletes in collegiate level cricketers. We took the head injury data, collision data among collegiate level cricketers, on-field and off-field. SCAT-6 was assessed and periodic evaluations were done. This was the inclusion criteria. They were diagnosed by a team physician, and concussion that took place during the match. Concussions out of the match were excluded. So the results, we picked up 15 head impacts, out of which 7 were concussions, 5 were in batsmen and 2 were in fielders, and 3 players were removed immediately off the field. 3 players developed symptoms later during the match, and 1 even after the match. So this is vestibulo-ocular motor screening. It is administered to suspected concussion athletes. So here it is a battery of 7 tests, and this is a subjective scoring. So we'll be taking in 4 domains, as you can see: headache, dizziness, nausea, and fogginess. So this is smooth pursuits. So the subject can give his subjective score. This is horizontal saccades, vertical saccades, a convergence test. This is vestibulo-ocular reflex horizontal, where the eyes are fixed to the target and only the head moves. Similarly, vertical ocular reflex, and finally we did the visual motion sensitivity test. These were the scores on the day of the injury, and the scores at 3 days post injury, and 1 athlete still had subjective scores after 3 days. This is the balance error scoring test. This is used to assess the static balance. 3 stances in 2 surfaces were assessed. It was for 20 seconds, and the errors were opening eyes or losing balance or removing their hands off their hip. So these were assessed. So we all know aerobic exercises immediately post concussion is healthy for a faster return to sport, but then we need to know at what level of intensity the aerobic intensity exercise should be. So we did the Buffalo concussion treadmill test. In this test, treadmill, we asked the athlete to run on the treadmill at 5.8 kilometers per hour, and at every minute 1% inclination is done. Inclination is increased. So as you can see, the athlete is with the heart rate monitor. The RPE and the VAS score were assessed. And the point where we stop the test is at any point. So at every stage we increase 1% increase. At any point, if the VAS increases by 3 points, we stop the test and we take the heart rate at that point. And 80% of this heart rate is the exercise threshold, and sub-threshold exercises are beneficial. And athletes who had cervical symptoms, we assessed with a laser pointer. So he was strapped with a laser pointer, and we asked them, with the moving targets, we asked them to hit the bullseye. And there was a cervical torsion test to see whether symptoms are recurring while doing the test. And this was actually the most interesting part. So here we can take into consideration of multiple creative patterns. It's not any set pattern. As in, you can use colored cones, you can give them new instructions, you can test their cognition, their reaction time, everything can be tested. Some of the tests that we did are here. And in our center, we are also privileged to have something called the Vienna test system. So it's already programmed, standardized tests that are already inbuilt in the system, and it gives you neurocognition tests, as you can see the athlete going through the test, and also reaction time tests. It can give you at what point he's losing concentration, his focus, his peripheral vision. So it incorporates a lot of these things. We followed a criteria-based return to play, and once the athlete was symptom-free, we progressed. We gradually reintroduced their activity. For a batter, he can start with small throwdowns, and we can start off with light aerobic exercises based on the Buffalo concussion treadmill test. We can design the heart rate, and some sports-specific running drills can be done in the next stage, and harder sports-specific drills incorporating balance and coordination. So at any point, if their symptoms are coming back, we can demote them to the previous stage. And after the 4th stage, we did a medical clearance, and only then we asked the player to attend a full practice session. This can also be tweaked and changed. You can start off with spin bowlers, then medium pacers, and then finally, when he's confident, you can progress to fast bowlers. And once he's cleared the stage, we can go to final competition-based return to sport. So in our study, 6 of the athletes cleared within 10 days, and the earliest RTP was even as fast as 3 days, but one player required 21 days. The mean was somewhere around 7 days. So we report that 7 cases of concussion in 200 player days, which is higher than what was reported in previous studies. 3 players were removed promptly, and more than 50% were removed after the injury. So this also correlates with the previous study by Hill et al. And majority of concussions were in batsmen, as suggested by literature. And most of the players returned within 10 days, which fits the RTP guidelines. And using multiple domain tests, like we use the vestibulocular system, the balance error scoring, Buffalo concussion, cognitive tests. So using this, we'll be able to tell an athlete that he's fit in almost all these aspects before he returns to play. So summary, we are providing some insight on the incidence diagnosis and management, and trying to address the gap that is there in literature. So conclusion, the take-home points are importance of prompt on-field concussion assessment, and serial evaluations are very important because majority are delayed onset. You avoid further injuries and a potential second impact syndrome. You customize your rehab protocol based on the symptoms of the athlete. If he has cervical symptoms, you don't have to see others. It's a combination of symptoms, but specifically cater to the symptoms of the athlete. And documentation is very important to monitor long-term consequences. These are my references. Thank you.